Namaskar to everyone. Contacting you over that technology that borders on magic, where we can see each other even over thousands of miles. I am a technophobe, I admit, but in this time of Corona, I realize it has been a great boon to mankind. Let me begin with a tribute to Swamiji, who was a great soul, inspired hundreds of thousands of people all over the world. And of course, first, our beloved Lord Ganesha, my favorite, who's always been my favorite, that little elephant god who helps us push through the many, many obstacles we have to face as we walk this human path. Om Tat Ganeshaya Vidmahe Vakratundaya Dhimahi Tano Danti Prachodayate Om Tat Paramparaaya Vidmahe Jnana Lingeshwaraya Dhimahi Tano Guru Prachodayate Om. Om Yoga Maharishi Dr. Swami Gitananda Giri Guru Maharaj Ki Jai. I thought I should give a topic for the evening, and the thing that came to my mind was, well, this is actually a title, it doesn't sound like it, but it is. Well, we are all humans, after all, aren't we? We are all humans, after all, aren't we? What is a human being? This is the question, isn't it? Being, most people, I would say on the planet, as Swamiji often told us, are not human beings. They are human doings. They are busy going here, going there, doing this, doing that. But our destiny is to become a human being. What is a human? Well, I think it was Plato, one of the old Greek philosophers, who said, the humans are featherless bipeds, which to me is about the closest definition we can get to the human state. Most barely make it up onto 2 feet. That's a big accomplishment, actually, to get out of, well, we have to go back a long way. We have to go way back to the unicellular creatures who are madly swimming along the ocean looking for something to eat. That's their main diversion, occupation. Then we go into the fish who are swimming along in the ocean waters. And then we move on to the land and we slide along on our belly as reptiles, different types of reptiles. And then we go up finally onto 2 feet. It takes a long time to get onto 2 feet. It's no joke. And finally, if we work hard enough, we are able to raise ourselves off the ground onto 2 feet. And at that point, we are able to lift the head and look at the stars. And when we can lift our head and look at the stars, that is the beginning of the birth of consciousness. And we realize there's a huge, huge universe out there. It's not just the dirt or the waters of the planet, but there's a sky filled with galaxies of stars that are more numerous than the grains of sand on the ocean shore. We're only a little tiny speck. Carl Sagan, one of my favorite astrophysicist scientists, described the Earth as a blue dot in dark space. Little dot, or a small little dot. And on that little dot, 8 billion of us are standing. When we look at our existence with this perspective, the mystery, the majesty, what can we say, the beauty of this incredible phenomena called life is evident to us. 8 billion people on this little planet. And each one of them has their own story. I could write 8 billion novels telling the story of every single human. But what is that story? What is the story of humanity? Is it to eat, to sleep, to fight, to quarrel, to kill, to earn money, to dance, to build empires, to become the President of the United States? Is that the story of humanity? Those are little frivolous diversions that we get sucked into as we are moving along this incredible evolutionary trajectory. It is said that the human existence is a bridge that we have to go over, we have to go past. I like very much one of the Sufi stories where the Sufi is dying and all the people around him, his family, are crying and wailing. But he has a beautiful smile on his face. And his wife said, "Dear, you're dying. Aren't you sad to be leaving us? Aren't you sad to be leaving your home?" And the great Sufi said, "I'm not leaving home. I'm going home." What a beautiful idea. Sometimes we forget and we think that our earthly existence is the end all and be all of our life. And it's not at all. It is simply a bridge, a passage, a college, a university, to which we have to learn our lesson. And when we have learned our lessons, we graduate. We graduate to another place. What is that place? Well, the saints, the Sufis, the Druids. I'm reading a book on the Druids right now, which is quite fascinating. The Shamans, the priests, the mystics, the Yogis. They are touching those higher realms, and they realize that up there in the stratosphere of spirituality, everything is anandam, anandam, sat chit anandam. What a relief. I was brought up in a culture where religion, spirituality was a very mournful, sorrowful type of discipline. But here in this culture, and also in the Sufi culture, many of the mystic cultures, those who reach the top of the pyramid, from that vantage point they saw it is all bliss. It is all anandam. It is all sat. It is all consciousness. What a marvelous message. But we get caught in our little ego bubbles. We can call the ego a bubble. And all of the 8 billion people on the planet love to run around pricking the bubbles of each other's ego. Huh? Little Anandraj, my naughty grandson, one day in a class at Yogacharini, said that the ego is an acronym or something. I said, what? He said, the ego stands for everybody get out. I thought that was fantastic because the ego wants everybody else to go away. They want to be the only one standing on Earth planet. They want all the money, they want all the glory, they want all the fame. What a delusion. Well, in our tradition, we call that moha, illusion, delusion. It's one of the shat ripus, one of the 6 enemies of spirit. Moha, illusion, delusion, bubbles, fantasy. Then mada, pride, ego, excessive ego. Then Matsarya, the worst one of all, that terrible green-eyed monster that spoils all relationship, jealousy. And Krodha, anger, Krodis, filled with anger. They're just looking for something to be angry about. Kama, lust, desire. But the worst of all, lobha, greed. Give me more. I need more. Huh? I think that's all terrible, terrible vices, terrible character flaws. Very difficult for us to see them. But this is part of being human. And this is what I started out with. We're all human, aren't we? We're all works in progress. We're all evolving. Some people call us a work in progress. It's a very nice thing to think about. We're in a university, we're studying, we're learning. We've not become masters, we've not become doctors. We're simply learning. And what are we learning? Well, I've thought a lot about it. What are we supposed to learn? I think we're supposed to learn how to become a human, how to become a human being. Now I have to stand before you or sit before you. Now I'm getting old and the body is saying, look, why are you still holding on to me? And I tell the body, I'm not holding on to you, you're holding on to me. So we have this argument going on. But I have met one human in my life, and this is a picture of that person. He was a total human being. He was a human being. And what's more, he loved it. He loved to be a human being. I never saw him depressed. I never saw him sorrowful or unhappy. I saw him angry quite a bit. He had a lot of anger, but I always considered it to be a righteous anger because we would all be plodding along like buffaloes in the mud and very happily. And he would just roar like a lion and say, get your you-know-what out of the mud and get going and become a human. You're not a buffalo. And he was a human. He loved to be a human. He loved to eat food. He wasn't a glutton. It was just, even he'd sit at the table in the morning and have a nice bowl of ragi porridge. And he'd say, wow, this is the best bowl of ragi porridge I ever had. Or after that, he'd go into the bathroom and he'd stand under the shower for about 10 minutes and he'd come out and he'd be all wet. He'd look like Neptune emerging from the ocean. He'd say, man, that was the best shower I ever had. And every morning when I'd wake up, on the pillow beside me would be a flower. every morning. I don't remember a morning when I didn't have a flower on my pillow when I woke up. He enjoyed being human, and he embraced his humanity. Okay, maybe people could look at him and say, oh, he did this, he did that. One of the criticisms, it's not criticism. One thing you have to remember about criticism, if you have a beautiful white shirt and it has one dot of ink on it, everybody will see that ink, won't they? And when you were as perfect as he was, with a few little anomalies, people will see that. But he was so perfect, but he wasn't totally perfect. I don't know, who am I? You have to be perfect to recognize perfection. And I have seen and heard and understood that perfection is an illusion. There's no such thing as perfection. But there is wholeness, there is completeness, there is fulfillment. And that's something totally different. And as humans, our desire, our driving inner force is to seek that completeness, to seek that wholeness. We can call yoga. Yoga is wholeness, isn't it? It's being a whole person. He was a whole person. What the students saw, I saw. What the governor of Pondy saw, everybody else, the rickshawala saw. What the president of India saw, the fisherman saw. He was totally whole. He was a united, integrated personality. He said what he thought, and he did what he said. And now I hope that all these new thoughts that have entered her cerebral cortex will be able to do a pratipakshana against all the instincts and emotional outbursts that are spurting out from the mammalian and reptilian brain. Little teenager struggling to develop the mind, a struggle that we all have to go through at some point. She and her brother both, they're doing their best with a little input from others around them. But she has done it. She visualized it. She coordinated it. She presented it. And her father has helped her with the technical details. And I think now she's learned a lot about this different technology as well. So it's been quite an experience. And she's convinced me to come and do her last episode. That took a bit of poking. But through this, I have to admit, I have really enjoyed seeing all of our global family and hearing the global voices in real time. Actually, I don't see it in real time. They put it on a video and then they show me immediately after, so it's only about a half hour later. And it's a chance for me to see all of you. And it does really give something very special to see all of you in your own place and realize the struggles and the success, the failures that you're going through, but how you're trying to hold to the thread of that yogic sadhana in the best way you can. And anyway, let's keep going. As Confucius says, there's no shame in going slow, but don't stop.